Yo guys, I was just posting to YouTube and then I saw the MPC Live III just drop. So I want to, listen to this video and I'll say react, but respond in real time. Shout out to Yaahn Hunter. I'm subscribed. He's the one who makes me want stuff like this. So I played a little bit of the video, but let's start from the beginning because this is interesting. Let's just start.
Hunter.
Man, I'm going to leave his link below because we always want to show respect. Now, if you guys didn't notice, he's using Ableton in the background. So he's using the controller even with Ableton. I think that's how that works.
Really good with you guys. We have the MPC Live III in the building, and I'm going to give you guys a brief little walkthrough. Let's get into it. We are introduced with our new MPC E pads, our expressive pads, which means we now have 4 quadrants to trigger our samples like such.
I just want to stop it here to say that's unique and clever. Now, I thought he was going to say something about MPE, which it may go into that conversation where you press a key and you move around and the key does different stuff. It's similar to like Aftertouch if you guys are familiar, but more expressive. So the fact that each pad has 4 things on it, imagine you hit a kick or just a different style kick or filtered style kick per corner, because I do understand it calculates velocity too per pad. But that's an interesting concept. Now my chunky fingers are probably gonna hit the wrong pad, like the wrong side of the pad, but I assume that's optional.
All right, and up here we have our all new 16-step sequencer, RGB buttons here. It's buttons, if you will. All right, next we have our new touch strip here. If you tap and hold on the touch strip button, we can now configure this to do all kinds of different modes here. All right, next we have our all new built-in microphone. This can be used.
This is gonna be interesting. A built-in microphone. As you guys know, like texture is the new thing, like how to get a unique texture out of something. So if we can sample stuff into the microphone from our room, it will have this like grit to it that we can't get if we just had a crystal clear one shot. So that's a unique feature too.
From recording some dope stuff in the studio. Also, you can record your stuff out in the field on the go, which is super useful. And with the 3.6 software, we get our time signatures back. All right, in our main area of buttons here, we now have our new clip launching feature, which is super dope. So if we go to Shift and go to Matrix, we can now record, launch, and perform using the new matrix view. And we can set this to row launch to launch the entire rows.
So I guess this is part where it's like, this is where it gets into like MPC world of workflow. Like I'm trying to comprehend just the outside point of view because I'm strict, we're usually FL Studio or Logic Pro. So I'm coming from that mindset. I guess this is where, again, like I said, the value becomes the workflow and not necessarily the approach to just straightforward stuff, if that makes sense. This guy, even his demo beats sound fire. Like what the
clip launch and launch clips within the selected tracks that we're on.
My bad, y'all. I got the free YouTube. Okay, here we go. I'm trying to understand what's happening. I don't think Is he playing on the keyboard? I must have missed something.
And with this, we also have an all new record to arrange button where we can actually record our performance from the matrix to the arrange. Now we have our editing buttons here. We have our banks.
It seems very MPC world of stuff. And only because I'm a super outsider, I'm gonna skip ahead because it's just very MPC stuff that I'm not understanding because I don't understand the workflow. Now here's where he goes in about the IOs here.
All right, on the rear of the MPC, guys, we get the headphone port. We get a speaker on and off switch here. We have our 6 outputs, which also gives us 3 stereo outputs. We also have our combination jack 1/4 inch and XLR inputs here, which is super dope. We also have our phono here, so if you want to sample some records, we have...
Actually, now I'm thinking about what I just said, that didn't make any sense. I would need a button to mute my microphone. Never mind. My brain is just excited about this, so forgive my ignorance on that one. That was just a
which
sporadic
is
thought.
super dope. We also have our phono here, so if you want to sample some records, we have this
Oh,
available.
that's dope. Okay, now this is interesting because my turntable has this like white and red cable. And I was like, man, this is for a TV or something. And my interface did not have an input for it. So I had to get some kind of converter piece to convert that into a TRS or, into a quarter inch. And I was like, why am I doing all this work just to sample my vinyl turntable? So I'm glad they built this in. They built this for what we do. That's what I love is that they built this for what we actually do, which is sampling from a vinyl or, like I said, making content.
As well. We also get our MIDI in and out. Here we have 4 ports in total. So we have
interesting because MIDI is for those who use analog keyboards that have MIDI still on them. Now the newer ones have USB, so you can plug it straight into your computer. But if you want a daisy chain or tap into an older keyboard, you could use the MIDI. So some of my keyboards and synths don't even have that USB connection because they're so old. But this is useful for older gear. So this is useful for vinyls, and then you have the older gear thought of right here, basically. And I see some CV gates, meaning if you guys want to do modular controls over stuff.
2 for MIDI out, 2 for MIDI in. We also have our CV gates here, which total to 8 CV gates. We have our SD card slot here, and then we have our USB 2.0 here, and then our new additional Type-C port.
And this is so many ports. I don't even know what you would do with a USB input. What would you do with a USB input? Or is that the output? Maybe it's the output. I don't know.
Here, which is super dope. This can also be used for sampling directly from your iPhone. So make sure you guys stay tuned on that.
You can sample from your iPhone? This is crazy.
You also can use this port here to transfer audio to your DAW. So we get 24 inputs and virtual outputs. And then of course we have our power.
Wait, we gotta run that back. You get 24, hold on, run that back. That was a big point here, hold on.
Sampling directly from your iPhone. So make sure you guys stay tuned on that. You also can use this port here to transfer audio to your DAW. So we get 24 inputs and virtual outputs. And then of course we have our power. And
because before all this USB and data transfer, you would have to literally have 16 outputs on the back of your machine in order to get track 1, or each channel, we'll say. So let's say you have a stereo keyboard inside of your MPC. I'm talking about just any piece of gear, okay? And you would have to, in order to get that one keyboard sound, you would need a left output and a right output. Now imagine 16 instruments. Now you need 16 outputs just to get your keyboard, your bass, your whatever stereo in your mix. So the fact that this thing can do virtual outputs saves a lot of space and a lot of time in terms of production. So that's good.
And this also has a lithium chargeable battery. Now what's new under the hood, we have a new 8-core processor.
However, I want to say the transfer will be digital and not analog. The main thing people have about converters and stuff is the quality from when you go from the digital domain to the analog domain and vice versa. So I guess the difference here, just to be clear, I'm not an expert, so don't quote me on this, but when you're coming out of the analog outputs, the machine has to convert digital zeros and ones into voltage. Okay, so it's a whole different thing. It has to convert itself. And then when it goes to your audio interface, it has to do the reverse. It has to convert the analog voltage into zeros and ones. And so depending on how this machine outputs using its converters, it converts the signal. And depending on how your audio interface converts, that's what creates a sound, some people say. It either rounds the sound out, it has flaw, or it's super crystal clear. Now, each machine has a different way of converting. I'm sure it's a clean sound from the MPC Live. I'm sure they're not going for a gritty sound. I'm just assuming, I have no idea. But when you come out of the USB, you're going to get that straight. Whatever you hear in the MPC is what you're going to hear in your DAW. There will be no alteration because there's no conversion step, from what I understand, because you're going from zeros and ones to more zeros and ones. If I'm wrong, just let me know in the comments. I'm not an expert. I don't act like one on signal flow.
Here, which is super dope. This can also be used for sampling directly from your iPhone. So make sure you guys stay tuned on that. You also can use this port here to...
If you didn't already, you got to subscribe to his channel. He's always dropping fire, even on Instagram.
transfer audio to your DAW. So we get 24 inputs and virtual outputs. And then of course we have our power, and this also has a lithium chargeable battery. Now what's new
The
under
fact that
the
it's
hood?
a battery too, so you're portable, from what I understand, crazy. And the size, I'm looking at the size right now. He has, what is that, a Mac Mini? That one looks maybe like the generations before the modern one. So if I'm going off the same width of my Mac Mini, it looks about like 2 to 3 Mac Minis long, which is not huge at all. And man, that looks very lightweight. I'll let him tell us, but it looks portable. It looks like you can fit that in a backpack.
We have a new 8-core processor. Also, we have 8 gigs of RAM in this thing. So now we can load up to 32 instrument plugins, which is really dope. This joint has 128 gigs of storage. But
wow, the fact that you could do all this offline too, like if you guys are just in the car somewhere chilling, you don't have your computer set up, you can just whip this out and just do whatever. It's crazy. And you can access their plugins.
be mindful that the software is going to take up some storage. And also with this new power, we can now load up our plugins super fast. So if we come over here to plug in, and if you come over to your Analog Dreams or any of the expansions that usually would take a long time to load up, check how fast this loads up.
So easy
All right,
preset.
super fast loading time. And our new Pro stems also.
Okay, so this is interesting for all DAWs, is the stem separation. This is becoming a modern conversation because now it takes your records and now you've multiplied your entire vinyl collection times at least 4. So when you create stems, you now have access to the vocals, the bass, the drums, or just the other instruments, which means literally the 200 something records I have to my right side is now 800. And that's what is going to make this fun, is because now we can reimagine all these songs that we may have sampled before, but we didn't have access to just the vocals or just the bass line or just the drum break. And now we can separate this stuff inside this program, going through the, the white and red inputs.
So
if you're sampling from a vinyl, I mean.
Is on the new processing power. Now the speed of the processing time is going to vary on how long the sample is, and the quality is also going to vary based on what you're sampling. So for example, we have this here. That's the full, here's the bass.
That's all you need though.
Let's go to the vocal.
It even has, I think even, here's another take, is the stem separators. I know everybody wants it super clean and pristine, but what if we look at it as if it's creating a sound? The same way if you run through like an MPC filter with the resonance up and the low pass filter down, it gives you a certain sound of the 90s. And it's like, what if this is the sound? If I'm making sense to anybody.
Now the price tag, how much is the MPC Live III? It is going for $16.99.
So you already know companies are gonna have payment plans. So $16.99 divided by 4 is what, about 500 per plate, you know, if you do it per quarter or whatever. So, but to me, this is a whole new world. So I'm treating it like it's a keyboard. I'm treating it like it's a Chord Kronos or something like that. It's just a different thing that can do a lot of stuff. Like I'm still learning about this Chord Kronos too. It has so many things in here that I have no idea how to use yet. I just like the sounds. And that's what I think people are going to approach this with, is like, do I like the sounds? Can I make a quick little drum beat with it? Can I get the human timing? Can I get the MPC swing? Because that's what we're, you know, it's that hip hop core DNA. Everything else is just an added bonus. You know, the sounds, the special features, the mic and all that.
US dollars. All right, now let's cook something up. I'm gonna start with some drums here using the MPCE expansion kits.
Now I'm gonna skip ahead because this is his beat, so I don't want to. He always makes head bobbing beats.
All right,
man.
let's ask.
God, I love this guy. Okay, it says beat making, then it says touch strip. So I guess this is
give us some expression using our touch strip.
Okay, so expression is a thing that is very hard to articulate to a student. And this is what separates the sounds you guys love from the sounds that you're just hearing, is the expression of the sound. So let's hear what he does with this one. So I assume this works with their instruments.
Now my old workflow would be to use the track mute. What I'm gonna do now is use a brand new function.
I'm gonna skip ahead because these are
to
like,
mute our,
again, kind of like MPC. So he muted something. So you can basically perform this thing live is what I'm kind of understanding. So let's see what his verdict is. For me, I think it's for people who are outside of the MPC world, like myself, and we want to dabble into the MPC world, but we don't have the money for the MPC 2000 XL, and we don't have the patience to be going through that workflow. Maybe some people do, some people don't. But we want to stay modern because, like I said, if I get an older keyboard, the way I would plug that up to my computer is I would have to get a MIDI output. I would have to go into a MIDI interface, and then that goes USB into the computer. A lot of steps involved in just capturing MIDI and sending out MIDI from my DAW. But because this is a more modern machine, it has all the modern connectivity. It has all the outputs. It even thought about my vinyl player, which has the white and red cable. And so it's like, it's built to have all the connectivity. And I think the connectivity is the question that people kind of skip over. So personally, I would think that this is for an outsider, because we as outsiders, I'm speaking for the general, people who are not MPC heads like that. We are not kin, what's the word? Kin, whatever the word is. We're not familiar with the workflow and all the little hacks and stuff. All I know is pads, pull some sounds up. Can I make this into a beat? All the other stuff is for the people who are like really chiseled into this. And I think it seems like it can go from beginner to pro, which means there's a path to go beyond just the surface level stuff. And as long as there's a path to go beyond the surface level stuff, I think people will invest a little bit deeper because they know they can go from this basic boom, boom, ta, boom, boom, ta, to like really complex stuff if they choose to. My purpose for an MPC is really that velocity control. Me as an outsider, I want to relive that 90s sound. I want to relive how they even achieved that sound, that timing, all the little things about the groove and the swing. That's what I want to achieve through the MPC, because that's what the MPC does best, in my opinion. As far as all the modern features, I'm sure there's a comparable feature somewhere else. Would I be making my entire records in here? Who knows, maybe one day. But I personally am looking at the MPC as a thing to do that human timing, get that swing there, which is the New Jack swing is like my favorite swing of all time. What else did I say? I forgot what I said. And basically just the ability to be a little more hands-on. It does give you a different result. So let's see what his verdict is.
So who is this for? One, budget. Always determine whatever you're going to buy based on your budget. And if it meets your budget, then you're all set. It's quite simple. If you're someone who likes to combine performing with also, tracking, this is also a really good device for that. I really see this as a really good portable device. I was recently at the playlist retreat.
Shout out to Jazzy
Jeff's spot. And this would have been the perfect device to bring to have an internal mic or even plug in a mic. Also, I could use the Arrange and record directly into the arrangement and record vocals and do all the things. So again, if you just want to chop samples and just make beats, I highly recommend getting the Live 2. You'll get it cheaper. So I think you guys can make your...
But I guess my question as an outsider is, which MPC should I even get, period? There's the Live, there's the older versions, it's like which one to even begin with, let alone like the different styles. But regardless,
your assessment on whether this is for you. So that's my assessment of it. I'm going to be doing more videos here on my channel, but guys, go show the...
All right, but yeah, I want you guys to subscribe because he's super fire. And normally I don't like to react to people's videos because it's just like whatever, but this is like news that I think everybody can appreciate, which is MPC is still pushing forward. They're trying to innovate, and they're doing it in a hip hop way. They're not doing it in a corny way. Like they're staying themselves, but they're still adding little pieces that expand and create, that expansion for their brand and innovation. So I'm interested to see where they take this. And all right, guys, I'm going to shut up, and I want you guys to subscribe to him himself, and I'll leave the video link below. Peace.